But if I think about that compared to orchestrating operations within a four wall of a distribution center, or aggregating a lot of external data sources through a TMS, particularly if it's not my own fleet, right? If I'm using common carriers and that kind of thing, of how do I get the data aggregated? So that the forecasting and planning is a pretty robust area of interest, procurement as well. And on the kind of the logistics side of it, it really is, as I mentioned, kind of the on the transportation piece, whether we have a TMS or not, whether it's my own fleet or somebody's in the back room dialing for diesels, trying to coordinate everything. Some use cases around there, some of it around information of accessibility, right? So the ability to use LLMs and just query, where is this shipment or what's the status of this? But also when it comes to scheduling and coordinating, whether it's inbound receipt, outbound pickups, and how does that tie in with any, warehouse or fulfillment operations as well, is using agents to manage a lot of those kinds of things as well.
Right. And also there's a lot more there's a lot from supply chain being absorbed into the LLMs. So things like HTS codes, for example, are now have been ingested into OpenAI and Anthropic, I think. And so this starts hopefully to give another set of opportunities to supply chain practitioners to be able to say, the LLMs, okay, there's a lot of interest in terms of the hallucination effects and everything else, and that's a whole different conversation that we could go into for days on. But it appears that there's now even more credibility from a supply chain data perspective, and then how can we start to really leverage that? How can we start to, my opinion has always been that supply chain, we have, the physical supply chain has always been ahead of the digital supply chain. And over the last 5 years, the digital supply chain has now caught up and surpassed the physical supply chain. And to really open up these models of federated inventory and all of the things that we've always dreamed about, the technology has never been there. And suddenly it seems to be available to us. And how do we then apply that to that physical supply chain to be able to change the way that we think about it? And it's like, okay, I need to see more traction from supply chain practitioners actually trying and using some of this technology, but there's always, the supply chain, we have to do what's on our plate today. And it's really difficult to focus on tomorrow until we get today finished. How are you treating that with your clients? Like, what are these conversations? Are people still skeptical? Or are they still thinking, because I've had these conversations on where it's like, well, remember RFID, remember blockchain. And those
Yep.
those are going to be the foundational turning points of inflection for supply chain, and they never were. And I'm saying, yeah, this time it's different. This time you've got a user base, you've got zero barrier of entry, the technology is democratized. So this is a better chance than we've ever had before to actually drive real transformation. Is that the conversation that you're having?
Yeah, it absolutely is. And so that was very difficult to get traction, right? And there's several other examples you can look at. And like you said, what's different with AI is the cost of entry is low. It's very, very democratized, the data and the capabilities at this point. And the reality is that it enables decision making and visibility capabilities that are becoming increasingly critical. So I don't know that you can afford to not go down the path